Well, this is exciting. Ryan Tubridy, hello.
Oh, Steve, how nice to see you in this context.
Look at us.
Look at us
this
together
is my
at
80s
last.
plus home.
Oh, well, thank you for having me in your 80s plus home.
Well, we've been talking about doing this for ages,
We
and
have.
I just knew that you would come up with such a kind of eclectic killer playlist, and you have.
Well, I'm to the listeners who have no idea who I am. I have quite a nerdy sort of vibe off me, and that's correct. So I think choice of songs reflect that kind of eclectic, as you say, slightly oddball. Some of them are off the beaten track. Some of them are hits you might expect. But I've got a story for all of them. So,
I know.
yeah.
Most of these people you've met, you've interviewed.
Well, yeah, I've been lucky enough to.
We're going to get through this incredible career, and it's so great to work alongside you here at Virgin Radio and Virgin Radio 80s Plus. So what we're going to go for first?
Yeah. Okay, I think we're going to go for this is now people go, what PhD? I won't let you down. Jim Diamond's voice is so distinct, and I, as a family, we loved I Should Have Known Better. And like you said, so I interviewed Jim Diamond about that song once, and he says, you know that bit where he goes, yeah. I said, well, he says, well, you know when you're having trouble with your woman and you're fighting with her and you're going, yeah. You see, that's where that came from. I was going to pick that song, and I thought, well, actually, I think I'm going to go a little bit left to field and go with I Won't Let You Down, because it's a little mini masterpiece that's been forgotten.
We were talking about this in the lift, weren't we, last week?
Yeah, I was saying this song, your eyes lit up and you said, oh, I haven't heard that for ages. I'm going to listen to it later on. And so I think I'm kind of rescuing it from the shadows in some ways. But it's just a classic 80s tune. I'm 51 years old now, so I was a real child of the 80s, and that song just would burst out of the radio. And it's just, even the musicality of it, when I hear the opening instrumentalism of it, which you'll hear now, you're there immediately.
Does it make you feel happy, sad, melancholic? Because for me, it's all of them.
That's really interesting.
It takes me on a journey.
Apparently, in the army back in the day, nostalgia was considered an illness. It was a sickness.
Right.
And I can understand that, because you mentioned the word melancholy, which can make you feel so reflective and so sad. And Proust talks about eating the Madeleine cakes and then you're immediately a child again. You remember where you were and if you were happy or if you were sad. And I think that music has that power to just put you straight in that place. So I'd say in that song, PhD, I Won't Let You Down, no, it doesn't make me feel sad at all. It just makes me, I think it was an awakening to quality music. Before then it was just songs and nice songs and happy things, whereas this I kind of went, oh, what's happening here? That's crafted, and I understood music a little more.
Ryan, I haven't asked you this question. I've always wondered this, and I thought, oh, well, one day, hopefully, I'll ask Ryan. Were you always a star? Did you always want to be a star as you were growing up? Did you always have stage, screen, and the airwaves in your mind?
It's interesting you should ask that. I as a youngster, I used to. Do you remember CFAX?
Yes.
On the screen, I used to read it aloud, and I could see my reflection, like Narcissus, a modern Narcissus, reading the reflection, watching the reflection as I was pretending I was reading the news.
Amazing.
I used to watch cartoons, but I quickly navigated and gravitated towards the morning Sunday daily morning news programs, Good Morning Britain and stuff like that. David Frost, Michael Parkinson, Anna Ford, Anne Diamond, Nick Robinson, people like that, and Roland Rat, and Kevin the Gerbil. So they were all there. So I was kind of mixing news with entertainment, and I always felt that was my that was my path.
Where you belonged.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And radio was a natural fit too, because I love talking, I love sharing, I kind of like teaching, if that's not too much. But that sounds so arrogant. But
no, but
it's
you
more,
are a great
like
broadcaster,
telling
great
stories. Yeah. Well, it's in my country's blood. We loved storytelling.
Yeah.
And but thank you for saying that. But yeah, no, I loved it. So I think it was a natural fit for me, for sure. It was probably that or law. In both jobs required people talking an awful lot of rubbish.
No.
As you know.
Tell me about Roy Orbison. Why this pick? I'm dying to ask you.
I love the voice of Roy Orbison, the Big O. There's probably a lot of the music that I pick in for you for this, Steve, is wrapped up in nostalgia and family. And my dad loved Roy Orbison, and because he was such an interesting looking man. When you're a boy and you see Roy Orbison with the glasses and the dark black hair, and you go,
I didn't get it.
What was that?
Yeah.
Was he blind? Was he in an accident? Was he unwell? Or what was the story? But didn't matter, because it's like listening. It's like The Voice. You know, you if your back is turned, you hear that voice. You go, where has this been sent from?
Yeah.
What heaven has this been sent from?
Otherworldly, isn't it?
Otherworldly is a great word for it. So she's a mystery to me. Obviously, we know Pretty Woman and I'm Falling. If you haven't heard that, by the way, listen to that from the 60s. But She's a Mystery to Me was written, as you know, by Bono and The Edge. So I thought, there's an Irish thing there, but that's by the by. But the lyrics are very Bono. I'd love to have heard Bono singing it, but it doesn't matter. Roy Orbison does a better job anyway, and I say that respectfully to Bono. He'd probably say the same thing. It is a gorgeous song. It's a love song. It's a man wondering what about the joy of having a beautiful woman in his life, and it can apply to men, women, or anything in between. Just it's about being happy and in love and reflective with it, and with that voice, it's magic.
Ryan Tubridy's with me on my 80s playlist. Ryan, you're on air on Virgin Radio UK every morning, straight after Chris Evans, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Welcome to the team. I know you've been here. It feels like you've been here for a long time now, but it's great to sit down with you.
Thank you. I'm 6 months here. I'm half a year.
That's amazing.
But you've made me feel so welcome, and I want to say thank you while we're here.
Well, and I've been on your show, right? So here's the thing. I've been on your show talking about Madonna loads. Here's your turn to come on my show and talk about Paul McCartney.
My guy. Okay, so I'm obsessed with Paul McCartney. He has a restraining order out against me because I'm just too into it. When he announced recently that he was going to be going to London and Liverpool for his gig, or not Liverpool, I should say Manchester for his gigs, obviously I jumped out of my skin the way you would when you heard about Madonna performing. So obviously you have more chance to see Madonna than I will have to see Paul, because he's 82 now, and anyway, very excited about that. I'm a Beatles guy. I'm a Paul guy.
When did that start?
Oh, that started when I was painting the walls in my dad's house as a schoolboy, and putting on my brother's Beatles red and white albums.
Amazing.
In red and not white, but red and blue, as it happens, the greatest hits. And then I was going, what the hell is this? And then I moved on to McCartney. Then I went to see McCartney in Liverpool in 1989, and now I've seen him 9 times. I just need to get the 10th. So I'm there, and I've brought my daughters to see him since. I'm so excited. I had to bring my girls to see him and say, you are watching Mozart on the piano. Imagine, that's what I see.
Like a religious experience.
Oh,
when you like somebody that much,
Steve. If the priest goes to the Vatican, you go to Madonna. Appropriately enough, I go to Mecca. Everyone's winning. But it brings you happiness.
Yes.
So obviously, the song I picked for this is from 1982, and it's not an obvious one because I could have gone for loads of them. But if you listen to this song, and think of somebody who in your life who might have died not too long ago, or who you love and miss, pause. This is a very emotional song, and it's him sometime after John was assassinated in New York outside the Dakota building, and he obviously sat down and said, God, I miss my mate. And I think it's probably one of the most meaningful songs he's ever written. I think it's slightly one that got away, although he's toured with it more recent years, and I think this will be a revelation for a lot of your listeners, and I can listen to it every time. It makes me sad, yes, but I also think it's the beauty of friendship.
We've got to talk about this next track. Beautiful.
You know this song.
Tell me more about it.
Okay, so
I think Bono's vocals on this track possibly the best I've ever heard.
I agree with you. This is a song I've never heard in the UK being played, although I'd say it probably did very well. Clannad, Donegal band. I think they might have hit #1. They certainly were on top of the pops, as far as I remember, with a song called Harry's Theme, or Harry's Game from Harry's Theme. Harry's Theme from Harry's Game. And they were a terrific family band. And then they got together. They were like an Irish traditional haunting. They did the music from Robin the Hooded Man, which we used to watch as kids.
Yeah.
And then they got together with Bono for this song called In a Lifetime. And the way I was talking about it is another song choice I've made here, which was Freddie Mercury, Monster Rock About. This is Bono with Clannad, the Brennan family. Most unusual combination, most haunting song and sound, really short, and I just think there's something on the close to perfection in it. And what I'd say about it is, to me, it is very Irish without being hokey. It's very Irish without being trad music, as you'd call it, which isn't a bad thing, but I'm just saying that's what it is. It is ethereal, and I couldn't agree with you more. But I think Bono he's at peak Bono for all the right reasons.
Dying to ask you about Sinead O'Connor.
Yeah.
I've seen when I first learned that you were coming here, it was the first clips that I saw Sinead on your show.
Yes, yeah.
You knew her.
I was friends with Sinead O'Connor.
Wow.
And I don't say that lightly, because I've interviewed loads of people, but I wasn't friends with them. And I've met them loads of times, but I wasn't friends. But
Right.
we were friends. And she was an exceptional person. She was like the ancient Greek character Cassandra, who came out and told everybody the truth, and everyone said, don't listen to her, she's mad, and then the truth came to pass. That was Sinead.
Okay.
She spent a lot of her time saying, now this is going to happen and this is going to happen, and you're all crazy because you're ignoring it, and then everything came to pass and people had to turn around and say, gosh, you were right all along.
Why was that? Was she misjudged?
Yes, she was misjudged, and I think that people were very unfair to her. She was she had her eccentricities, and people misconstrued that for a certain sort of offbeatness that they just didn't take seriously. She was very emotional. She was very intelligent. She was very well read. She was obsessed with American politics. She used to watch a lot of CNN. She was fascinated by Trump things. Tell you a really quick story. So Sinead, we lived quite close to each other. So one day I was outside a pub in Dublin, and I was with a famous actor called Russell Crowe, who I became friendly with. He was recording, making a film in Ireland, and we were hanging out together. And as we were talking, as we were with a couple of pals, I saw a little figure walking along the path, and I said, I think that's Sinead O'Connor. And he said, really, Sinead, is she here? I said, give me a second. And I ran up and I said, Sinead, and it was getting a little dark, and there was no one around, and I said, Sinead, and she turned around, she goes, Ryan, and we hadn't seen each other for some time, and she was tiny, very slight, very reduced physically, and I'm tall and skinny, so I bent down. I could nearly pick her up and put her in my pocket. And just as I was hugging her, I heard I looked over my shoulder, and there was Russell Crowe saying, do you mind if I say hello? I said, no, come on, Sinead, this is Russell, this is Sinead. Very surreal. And she said, oh my God, Russell Crowe. And he goes, oh my God, Sinead O'Connor. And they started hugging each other, and I said, Sinead, do you want to join us, John, for coffee? Because, you know, she said, do you mind? I said, do we mind? So Russell, who's a big guy who tends to run the conversation in an engaging way, sat back because he couldn't butt. And Sinead took over, so that she was like a mouse who roared. And she spoke about Donald Trump. She spoke about her children. She spoke about Irish politics. She held court, but was not boring. Some people can hold court and bore you to death. She was the opposite. And she went off, and having spent an hour and a half with us, and she went off. We had a couple of phone calls after that, and then we never saw her again. She died.
She seemed tormented, I thought, in her last years. Would you agree with that?
She was. Her son had died, and I don't know what that must look like or feel like, but I can imagine there are a few things worse on the planet Earth than to be predeceased by a child. And I think that just wasn't fair, and it wasn't kind, and it wasn't right. And yeah, I think she was just so bothered by that. But she kept going. I mean, I remember sitting outside her house one day. She was rolling cigarettes. We were eating biscuits and drinking tea, and I was surprised by how beautiful her soul remained. It didn't lose its shine, but the rest was for her consciousness and her heart, which I think was gently shattered.
Just before we get into this song, your choice, do you think that she was bothered that Nothing Compares to You was the big song that most people, you know, if you weren't a fan of Sinead, you would definitely know that song?
Yeah.
Did that kind of hang around her neck, do you think?
It's a very good question, but I think the answer is no. And I'll tell you why I say that. And I'm not picking that song, as you know, because we all can hear that every day. I'm picking something else that's a bit more gutsy and a bit more her.
It's Sinead, isn't it?
I think that's why I'm not going to Nothing Compares to You. However, one of her last appearances on the Late Late Show, which was the chat show I did in Ireland, she sang that. And if somebody hates a song or gets tired of it or doesn't appreciate it anymore, they just simply wouldn't play it anymore. So she sang it, and if you look it up today, Sinead O'Connor's last performance of it, it's got millions of views, because here's an older version of the Sinead that you know from the video singing it, and it brings it somewhere else entirely. But I'm going to go with, in the memory of my old pal Sinead, this extraordinary woman, I'm going to show her at her strongest, her gutsiest, and this is Mandinka.
A few questions then. All the people has anyone got away that you would love to have interviewed, but that you never got the chance?
McCartney. I don't know how. I went into my TV show team at the beginning of every season for 15. I did that show 14 plus 5, another show, 19 years, and I said, "Can we get him?" And they said, "We'll try." And all I got in the end was a lovely, thoughtful video message on my last ever Late Late Show from Paul, to say, "Okay, you know, good luck, Ryan, and hope you do okay." And I had a guitar that was given to me by Ed Sheeran 2 weeks before, and he said, "Here, you learn the guitar. Don't do it. It's crazy." So it's a lovely message that I'll have for life. It was really nice.
Yeah.
And I did have the chance to meet him once in passing, which was a treasure. But it was a bit of a disaster, and I can tell you if you want to.
Yeah, go on.
Okay, so very quickly, here it was, my guy McCartney. It's Manchester. It's backstage. It's a press junket or press visit or whatever you want to call it. I had a chicken sandwich before lunch. I was wearing a really horrible shirt. My haircut at the time was particularly bad, and it wasn't a good look. We got backstage before the show. Paul McCartney comes down. He says, hello, nice to meet you. I was saying, great, and I get all excited. I lose my reason, and I'm starting to pat him on the shoulder like this, like patting him on the shoulder. He's going, "Okay, you know what you doing?" I said, "I'm just I don't know what I'm doing." He's just short of calling security. I said, "Any chance of a photo?" He said, "No, don't really do photos." I said, "We're doing a photo." Like, I was going quite mad, and I said, "My friend's got a camera." The friend took the picture, clunk, and the picture is me, chicken in my teeth, horrible shirt, hair like that, Paul McCartney looking at me like this, going "no" to the photograph. But actually what it looks like is me wide-eyed like something out of Misery, and him going, you know, "Oh," like he's posing like a beetle, but actually he's saying "no." So it's a negative experience that I still laugh at, and the photo I have in a frame on the floor facing the wall because I'm so embarrassed by it. And now I live around 3.5 minutes walk from him.
Well, I was going to say, surely there's still time. I mean, you know,
there is time, Steve.
Come on.
I believe in this. He's playing Manchester. He's playing London. He's playing Argentina.
Chris Evans knows him.
Well,
you know,
I should hit him up for some info.
Come on,
it's going to happen. So, so he's the one that got away. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I would have loved to have seen. You know, you mentioned Bowie and Prince and a few of these guys, and George Michael maybe, and people like that. But no, it's all about Macca now, to be honest with you. And he's a good age, but he's a great 82. I mean, no one tours the world at 82 unless they're in great nick. So yeah. So for all the Taylor Swift fans listening, that's my guy. That's my Swift.
We've all got our Taylor
You've
Swift.
You've got your Madonna. We've all got. So it's just great. So that would be pretty much it. I've had a pleasure of meeting some great
Let me
artists.
chuck another one. What's the greatest interview that you've ever done?
That's really hard because I've interviewed people who've survived the Holocaust, and I've interviewed people who have won Oscars, and it depends on a certain day. And I mean, I'm just, as you're talking, remember interviewing, say, Michael Parkinson, and he told such great stories that he comes to mind. And then you think of Tommy Reichenstahl, who was in a concentration camp and now goes around the world to schools telling kids what it was like and not to hate each other. You know what? He could be sitting at home drinking hot chocolate, watching TV, watching Poirot, but no, like, remarkable. Hillary Clinton, fascinating woman to interview. I've interviewed Hillary Clinton about 6 times now, and the first time I remember, she just lost the election to Donald Trump, and I remember walking away from interviewing her thinking, if only they had run that version of her, who I met, warm, funny, great mum, great grandmother, entertaining, a reader, smart, but they ran a very different type of Hillary because they felt that should fit the bill. Anyway, history would change. It kills me to think about it too much. And then you've got Christy Moore and great singers, you like Bono and Sinead. I could be here all day talking about
it's
the
just
great.
incredible. I could listen to you all day.
Yeah, thank you,
about
Steve.
them.
Yeah,
Amazing.
well, I've had a very interesting, experience. I've had a very interesting career so far.
Would you like to recreate the chat show? Would you like to do another chat show for the UK audience?
I think it's there. I think there's I think I still have gas in the tank. You know what I mean? But at the moment, I'm so happy putting my anchor down, like I say, putting my feet under the desk here. I can't recall a more lovely workplace. I mean, I know it sounds saccharine, but you come in here and I won't get into too much detail, but other than to say just the welcome and the kindness, and people seem to
They're
like
a good bunch.
people
aren't
like
they?
each
And
other.
It's a fun environment.
Yeah, and it's non-pressure. So I'm very extremely happy here. I have a book podcast that I do separate to this, which lets me do long form interviews about my favorite pet topic, which is books with famous people again, and I love that. So all is good, and I'm now an expert Lime biker. I use Lime on the bike the whole time.
Welcome to the UK.
I love it. I woke up this morning, Muddy says, Muddy, down, and I got my Lime bike, down, and I did. And I said, no, I'm not getting in the metal tube, because it's like, so I just got on the bike. It's like, it's like being in Amsterdam, so I love it.
Let me ask you about Pet Shop Boys, your final song. What a song this is.
Well, the reason I'm so happy about this song is because it's my youngest daughter's. I said to her, what's your 80s tune? I'm just curious to know, because she's an Lana Del Rey fan.
Yeah.
And I was just curious, what about the 80s? Because now the 80s for them is like the 60s for me.
Yeah.
So they're looking about it going, there was all these old guys, and you go, yeah, okay, Pet Shop Boys. Well, I think she went for Pet Shop Boys, West End. If she had picked a song I didn't like, I would have said, that's nice.
I can see the Lana Del Rey kind of influence.
There's a coolness to it. And, you know, Pet Shop Boys, I've never seen Pet Shop Boys live. And I hear David Walliams banging on about it in a good way, and every time I play It's a Sin, which I think is another masterpiece, West End Girls equally, I just think those songs have aged so well, and the lyric, the look, and then I see clips of the two lads on stage and I go, they've aged so well. I mean, it's remarkable.
They played it cool, didn't they?
They've played it.
Always done their own thing.
Right. I don't think I've even, I can't recall seeing them in doing anything else other than doing what they do best. So I just think it's lovely. I'm picking West End Girls largely because it's Julia's favourite song of the 80s, but also because it shows me that if a child of the noughties can pick a song this good from the 80s, the future is safe.
Ryan, it's been great hanging out with you. Thank you so much.
I hope we can do it again in some shape or form.
I would love to. I always enjoy coming on your show.
And you're always welcome on the show. The door is just in your coming. I hope your listeners enjoy this too.
Thank you so much, Ryan Tubridy.
Virgin Radio.